I didn't know it would start like this. That morning, everything seemed normal, sunlight spilling across my room, my phone buzzing with notifications, but there was this uneasy feeling gnawing at the back of my mind. I had trusted her, more than anyone else, with something I couldn't let anyone know. Something personal. Something that, if revealed, could change everything. Then she walked in, smiling like nothing had happened. But her eyes told a different story. They glimmered with mischief, curiosity, something I couldn't read. I tried to ignore it, tried to convince myself it was all in my head. "Do you really think I've been keeping your secret all this time?" she asked softly, leaning against the doorframe. Her voice was calm, almost playful, but it sent a shiver down my spine. I forced a laugh, trying to sound casual. "Of course. I know you've got it under control," I said, but my heart was hammering in my chest. Something in her tone made me realize I might have been wrong. Maybe she wasn't just keeping my secret. Maybe she had something else in mind. Before I could even process it, she stepped closer, sliding something small across my desk. A folded envelope, with my name written neatly on the front. My hands trembled as I reached for it, the weight of it feeling heavier than it should have. "For you," she said, her eyes glinting with that same unreadable expression. She turned and walked away, leaving me staring at it, unsure whether I should open it or run. I hesitated for a moment, staring at the envelope like it might bite me if I touched it. Every instinct in me screamed to leave it alone, but curiosity, that dangerous curiosity, won. My fingers shook as I unfolded it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Not words, not a note, just one sentence, written in her handwriting. "The biggest surprise is coming, and you're not ready." I blinked, rereading it. My heart raced. What did she mean? What kind of surprise? My mind spun with possibilities, none of them comforting. And then my phone buzzed again, a notification. A video message from her. I froze. My thumb hovered over the play button. Something told me that whatever was on the other side of that screen would change everything. Slowly, I pressed play. The video opened to my room, but it wasn't exactly my room. Shadows moved in corners I didn't remember. My own reflection in the mirror seemed wrong, like it was someone else pretending to be me. And then I saw her, standing silently behind me in the video, her eyes locked on the camera. She smiled, the kind of smile that makes your stomach flip. "If you're really ready, watch closely. If not, your secret stays hidden forever." My pulse quickened. This wasn't just a joke. This wasn't just a prank. Something was happening, something I didn't understand, and I had no idea how deep it would go. I couldn't look away from the screen. My room on the video looked exactly like mine, down to the smallest detail, but something was off. The shadows seemed to move on their own, stretching and twisting in ways that made no sense. My reflection in the mirror blinked, but not at the same time I did. Then I noticed it. A faint movement behind me, something familiar, something I shouldn't be seeing. My heart slammed against my ribs. I leaned closer to the screen, straining to make sense of it, but my brain refused to process what was happening. Her voice cut through the silence, soft and teasing. "Do you see it yet?" My stomach dropped. My secret, the one thing I had trusted her with, was no longer safe. And somehow, she was showing me that she had taken control of it in ways I couldn't even imagine. The video shifted suddenly. The shadows coalesced into a shape, my shape. But it wasn't me. It was someone or something that mirrored me perfectly, down to the tiniest detail, standing silently in my room. And then the camera angle changed, and she appeared next to it, leaning close with that unnerving smile. "I told you the biggest surprise was coming." I swallowed hard. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to stop watching, to run, to do anything, but my curiosity chained me to the screen. Whatever this was, it was far bigger than I had ever imagined. My hands were trembling as I reached for my phone, but I couldn't stop the video. Every second felt heavier than the last, like the air itself was pressing down on me. The figure in the mirror moved closer, and I realized with a jolt it was mimicking my every movement, exactly, perfectly, but with a subtle, sinister difference. Then she appeared on the screen again, leaning closer to the reflection. Her whisper sent chills straight to my core. Do you know what happens when secrets are too big to hold? My pulse raced. I wanted to look away, wanted to scream, but I was frozen. My own reflection, no. The shadow of me started to smile in a way I never could. It tilted its head, mimicking my nervous gestures, mocking me silently. Then another message popped up, text this time. Do you trust me? You should for now. I stared at it, unable to understand. Trust? How could I trust her now? My secret was no longer mine alone. It had taken a life of its own. And she was controlling it, twisting it, making me question every decision I had ever made. The shadows in my room flickered. The lights dimmed slightly, and for a split second, I swore I saw her standing right behind me even though the door was closed, and I was alone. A cold sweat ran down my spine. This wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a game, and I was trapped in it. I couldn't breathe. My eyes were glued to the screen, but my instinct screamed at me to look around the room. Every corner, every shadow seemed alive. The reflection, no, the shadow moved again. Slower this time, deliberately, almost taunting me. Then her voice came through the video again, soft, almost playful, but laced with something darker. You thought you knew the limits of your secret, but you were wrong. A chill ran down my spine. My secret, the one thing I had trusted her with, wasn't just out of my hands, it was playing with me now. Every movement on the screen mirrored what I was feeling, mocking me silently. Suddenly, the reflection raised its hand, and in that instant, it was like it was reaching out of the mirror. I jerked back, heart hammering, my hands gripping the desk so tight it left marks. Then a new text appeared on my phone. Are you scared yet? You should be. I couldn't stop staring. The shadows flickered, the lights dimmed, and for just a second, I swore I could feel her presence behind me in the real room, even though the door hadn't moved. And then, just as I thought I couldn't take any more, the video paused on a frame. My shadow, smiling directly at me. I gasped. Something was coming, and I had no idea if I was ready. I couldn't take it anymore. My hands were shaking, my chest burning with adrenaline. Something had to be done. I grabbed my phone, trying to stop the video, but before I could even touch the screen, it started playing again on its own. Her face appeared, closer this time, almost in my room, leaning into the camera. She whispered, almost teasingly, I told you you're not ready for this. But now, there's no turning back. Then the shadow moved again, my shadow, or whatever it was, stepping forward, mirroring my every movement perfectly, and yet wrong. Just slightly wrong. Its smile stretched wider than mine could ever go. I jumped back from my desk, my chair tipping over. My phone slipped from my hands, but the screen kept glowing. And then, a faint knock. From my bedroom door. I froze. My heart was racing so fast, I thought it might burst. I hadn't heard anyone come in. My room was empty, or so I thought. The shadows flickered, the reflection in the mirror twisted, and she appeared in the corner of my real room. Not the video this time. Her eyes glimmered, the same playful but terrifying look, and she whispered, You thought this was just a secret, but secrets have a life of their own. And now it's awake. Every nerve in my body screamed. My secret, the one I had trusted her with, had become something bigger. Something alive. Something that could no longer be contained. I backed away slowly, my eyes darting between the phone and the mirror. The reflection, it wasn't just reflecting me anymore. It was moving independently, twisting its head, smirking like it knew something I didn't. My pulse was racing so fast, it felt like it might burst out of my chest. Then her voice came, not from the phone, not from the video, but from the corner of the room. She was whispering my secret. Just one word repeated over and over. My stomach turned. How was she even there? I was alone. I stumbled toward the door, desperate to escape, but the reflection in the mirror, it stepped forward, holding something familiar in its hand. My own secret, right there, dangling as if daring me to reach for it. Do you see now? She said, her real voice this time, closer than ever. You thought you controlled it, but it's bigger than both of us. I froze. Everything I had trusted, everything I had believed about her, about the secret, it was gone. Reality twisted around me. The shadows in the corners grew darker, stretching across the room, almost alive. And then she smiled the same playful, terrifying smile and whispered, "The game is only beginning." I couldn't move. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. The shadow in the mirror, it grinned wider, almost daring me to make a move. And then I heard it, a soft, deliberate laugh. Not from the phone. Not from the video. From her, somewhere inside the room. I turned sharply, heart hammering. The corner of my eye caught a flicker, a movement too fast to be natural. She was there, leaning casually against the wall, smiling like nothing was wrong, but her eyes, they held that same unnerving glint. "Do you know what happens when a secret grows too big?" she whispered. I swallowed hard, trying to make sense of it, but my brain refused to process. The air felt heavy, thick, almost suffocating. Then my reflection moved again, reaching toward me, its hand stretching unnaturally. I stumbled back, my chair scraping the floor, and my phone slipped from my hands. Another message appeared on the screen, this time just one word: "Watch." My stomach twisted. I wanted to run. I wanted to turn everything off. But some dark, unexplainable curiosity chained me to the screen. I pressed play. The video resumed. My room was the same, but everything was wrong. Objects shifted slightly, shadows stretching in impossible ways. And in the corner, I saw her again, smiling, watching me, waiting for me to realize that nothing would ever be the same. I froze, staring at the screen. My own room was on the video, but it wasn't just a video anymore. Shadows moved where they shouldn't. My reflection, it was no longer reflecting me. It smiled at me, tilting its head, perfectly mirroring my fear, but with a twisted expression I had never seen before. Then I heard her voice, soft but sharp, coming from everywhere. From the corners, from behind me, from the video itself. "Do you really think secrets stay hidden forever?" A shiver ran down my spine. My pulse raced. Every instinct screamed at me to look away, to leave, to forget, but curiosity, that dangerous curiosity, held me captive. Suddenly, the reflection raised its hand and pointed at something behind me. I turned my head slowly, and my blood ran cold. There, just barely visible in the dim light, was a small object I hadn't seen before, something that shouldn't have been in my room. Before I could reach for it, the screen flashed, showing her leaning in close, whispering directly to me. "Ready or not, it's time you see the truth." The lights flickered. The shadows stretched further, creeping across the floor. My breath caught in my throat. I had no idea what was coming next, but I knew one thing for certain. My secret was no longer mine. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the screen. The object in the corner of my room, it was moving. Slowly, deliberately, as if it knew I was watching. My stomach churned. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my chest. Then she appeared on the video again, stepping closer to the camera. Her smile was soft, almost playful, but there was something dangerous behind it. "Curious, aren't you?" she whispered. I swallowed hard, every instinct telling me to stop, to leave, to throw the phone across the room. But I couldn't. The shadow in the mirror twitched, mimicking me perfectly, then broke the mimicry just slightly, and my stomach dropped. It was alive. Somehow it was alive. The object in the corner shifted again, and I realized it was holding something of mine. Something deeply personal. My secret. The one I thought was safe. A chill ran down my spine. I wanted to scream, to run, to do anything, but my curiosity chained me to the moment. Then a text popped up on my phone, short and unnerving. "Do you see it now?" I blinked, my hands trembling. The shadows stretched, the lights flickered, and the air felt impossibly heavy. This wasn't just a secret anymore, it had taken on a life of its own. And she was controlling it, guiding it, twisting it, making me realize I had no control at all. I couldn't breathe. My eyes darted between the screen and my room, but every corner seemed alive now. The shadows weren't just shadows anymore, they were moving independently, stretching toward me, twisting in impossible angles. The reflection in the mirror tilted its head again, smirking, and for a split second, I could swear it winked at me. My pulse hammered so fast it felt like it would explode. Then her voice came again, soft, playful, terrifying. "You thought this was just a secret, but it's bigger than that now." I froze. My secret, the one thing I had trusted her with, was no longer mine. Somehow it had grown and she was pulling the strings. Suddenly, the object in the corner moved again. I could barely make out what it was, but I knew it was mine. My stomach twisted. My hands shook. Every instinct screamed at me to turn everything off, to hide, to run, but the video held me like a magnet. She leaned closer to the camera, her eyes glinting with mischief. "Do you want to see what comes next, or are you too afraid?" I swallowed hard. My heart raced. Every shadow, every flicker of light, every movement in the mirror told me the same thing. The game had only just begun, and I had no idea how far it would go. I couldn't take it anymore. My hands were shaking, my chest burning with adrenaline. I had to confront her, had to understand what was really happening. I grabbed my phone, ready to speak, to demand answers, but the video played on its own. She appeared on the screen again, closer than ever, leaning in like she could step out of the frame. Her smile was calm, almost gentle, but there was something terrifying behind it. "You really think you can handle this?" she whispered. I felt a cold shiver crawl down my spine. My secret, the thing I had trusted her with completely, was now in her hands, alive, almost taunting me. Then the reflection moved independently again. It wasn't copying me this time, it was daring me. Its grin widened, and the way it tilted its head made my stomach twist. "You've been holding on to me for so long, now it's my turn," she said, her voice echoing through the room, both from the screen and somewhere real. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to throw the phone, to hide, but curiosity held me. I needed to see the next move. I needed to know what she was planning. Then the video cut abruptly. Silence. Darkness. And for a terrifying moment, I could hear my own heartbeat, faster than ever, echoing in the room. And then a faint whisper, almost behind me. "Are you ready to face your secret?" My breath caught in my throat. That whisper, it wasn't from the phone, not from the video, it was real, right behind me. My heart pounded so hard, I thought it might burst. I slowly turned around, half expecting to see her standing there, but the room appeared empty. Then my eyes fell on the mirror. My reflection, no, the shadow of me, was no longer mimicking. It was doing something entirely different. It raised a hand, holding something familiar, my secret, the thing I'd hidden for so long. The object shimmered in the dim light, and I realized it wasn't just a thing anymore. Somehow it was alive. My phone buzzed again. Another video. I hesitated, every instinct screaming at me to ignore it, but I couldn't. I pressed play. The video showed her smiling, leaning into the camera, eyes glinting. "Do you see it now? This is what I meant when I said your secret isn't safe anymore," she whispered. I watched in horror as the camera panned to my shadow in the mirror. It moved freely now, independent, almost sentient. My secret glowed faintly in its grasp, and I could feel it like it had power beyond my understanding. A chill ran down my spine. I realized, with sinking dread, that this wasn't just about the secret anymore. It was about control. And somehow she had it. She had control over me, my secret, and the room around me. My instincts screamed at me to escape, but every step felt heavier, every breath tighter. Something had changed. My reality was no longer my own. I couldn't move. My body felt frozen, but my mind raced. The shadow in the mirror, my secret, in its grasp, it shifted suddenly, as if aware of me staring. My heart pounded in my chest like a drum, each beat echoing louder than the last. Then her voice came soft, calm, almost impossibly close. "It's time you understand, your secret isn't just yours anymore." I spun around. She wasn't in the corner anymore, yet somehow I could feel her presence pressing against me, as if the room itself had been altered to trap me. The shadow in the mirror tilted its head toward her, and my stomach dropped. It wasn't just holding my secret, it was responding to her. She smiled and whispered something I couldn't hear, but the shadow moved immediately, almost like obeying. I stumbled back, gripping my desk for balance. The air around me felt thick, heavy, charged with a kind of energy I couldn't explain. Then she leaned toward the camera again, her smile playful, yet dangerous. Do you see now? Your secret, it listens to me. And soon it will do more than just listen. I felt cold sweat running down my back. The room flickered with shadows, the reflection in the mirror twisting and contorting. My secret was no longer mine, it was alive, aware, and entirely under her control. And for the first time, I realized I had no idea what she might do next. I couldn't breathe. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs refused to move. The shadow in the mirror shifted again, tilting its head toward me. My secret glowing faintly, and its hands seemed to pulse with a life of its own, reacting to her in ways I couldn't understand. Then her voice came again, closer, almost whispering into my ear. It's stronger than you think, and it listens better than you ever did. My stomach twisted. The shadow held my secret high and then let it hover, almost teasing me. I realized with growing horror that she wasn't just showing me power, she was testing it.
Testing me.
Testing how far she could push me without me fighting back. Suddenly, the shadow moved toward me. I stumbled backward, knocking over my chair, my hands shaking uncontrollably. The lights flickered. The air felt thick, heavy, almost alive. She appeared in the video again, leaning toward the camera, eyes glinting with mischief. Do you see now? Your secret obeys me, and soon it will do exactly as I say. I felt a cold wave of fear run through me. My secret, something I had trusted her to protect, was no longer just hidden. It was a weapon, a living thing, entirely under her control. And at that moment, I realized the terrifying truth. I was completely powerless. I froze, staring at the shadow, my secret still hovering in its grasp. My mind raced, trying to figure out what to do. Should I grab it?
Run?
Destroy it? Every option felt wrong, dangerous, like stepping into a trap I couldn't escape. Then her voice came again, soft, teasing, almost amused. Decide quickly, or watch everything you care about slip away. I swallowed hard. My pulse was hammering in my ears. The shadow tilted its head toward me, almost impatient, waiting for my choice. My secret pulsed again, like it could sense my fear. I glanced at the door, heart pounding. Escape seemed impossible. I looked back at the shadow. It moved closer, slowly, deliberately. The lights flickered. My room felt smaller, heavier, suffocating. And then she smiled in the video, whispering words that chilled me to my core. This is your moment. What will you do? I had to act. My secret, my life, everything depended on it. But in that moment, I realized, whatever I chose, nothing would ever be the same again. I took a shaky breath. I had to do something, anything. My hands reached toward the shadow, toward my secret, even though every fiber in my body screamed at me not to. The moment I touched it, the room seemed to shift. The lights flickered violently, the shadows twisted and writhed across the walls, as if reacting to my move. My heart pounded, and a cold sweat ran down my back. Her voice came again, calm, almost amused. Brave or foolish? We'll see. The shadow recoiled slightly at my touch, then pulsed, brighter than before. I felt an energy surge through the room, like the secret itself was alive, assessing me. Suddenly, the mirror reflected something impossible. Not just my shadow, but her standing right behind me in the reflection, though the room behind me was empty. My stomach dropped. The secret vibrated in my hands. I realized what I had done wasn't just touching it. I had provoked it. And she had been waiting for me to take that first step. Now the real game begins, she whispered, her voice echoing from every corner. I gasped. My secret, the thing I thought I controlled, had become something far beyond me. And I had no idea what she would do next. The moment I held my secret, the room seemed to come alive. Shadows stretched across the walls like dark fingers, twisting and pulsing as if they had a mind of their own. My pulse raced. My hands shook uncontrollably. The reflection in the mirror moved on its own, no longer copying me. It smiled at me, tilting its head, and I could swear it whispered something I couldn't quite hear. Her voice echoed around the room again, calm but terrifying. "You thought touching it would help? You have no idea what you just started." Suddenly, the secret in my hands pulsed brighter, glowing unnaturally. I felt a strange energy radiate from it, almost like it was alive, almost like it was judging me. Then something impossible happened. The shadows in the corners shifted, and a faint outline of her appeared in my real room, closer, sharper, as if she had stepped out of the video itself. I backed up, my chair scraping the floor, my heart hammering. "You're learning the rules slowly," she whispered, her eyes gleaming. "But the real surprise is coming next." I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to drop the secret, to run, to hide, but I couldn't. Something inside me demanded I see what would happen next. And that's when I realized I wasn't in control anymore. The shadow in the mirror twitched violently, almost like it had a mind of its own. My secret, still in my hands, pulsed brighter and brighter, its glow flickering with every heartbeat. I could feel it vibrating, almost alive, as if it were aware of her voice commanding it from somewhere beyond. Her voice came again, low and calm, but with an edge I couldn't ignore. "Do you see now? It listens to debays, but only to me." The shadow raised its arms, and the secret began to float from my hands, hovering in the air. I stumbled back, terrified. I tried to grab it, but it slipped from my grasp as if mocking me. The lights flickered again, and suddenly the reflection smiled wider than ever. My heart pounded in my chest. The room itself felt distorted, shadows crawling along the walls like living things. And then, just when I thought I might have a chance to act, the secret flew toward the mirror, merging with the shadow inside. My reflection grinned at me, terrifyingly alive, and I realized I had lost control entirely. "This is only the beginning," her whisper echoed through the room. I gasped. My secret, my world. Nothing would ever be the same. I stared at the mirror, frozen in place. My reflection, no, the version of me inside, it was no longer pretending. It stepped forward while I stood still. It breathed while I held my breath. And then it spoke. Not with my voice. Not exactly. "You shouldn't have trusted her." My blood ran cold. I tried to move, but it was like the room had tightened around me. The air felt thick, heavy, charged with something unnatural. Behind me, I heard slow footsteps. Calm, measured, confident. I didn't want to turn around. I already knew. Her voice came softly from just behind my shoulder. "You finally see it now, don't you?" I spun around, but she wasn't fully there. Not solid. Not real. More like a projection bleeding into reality. But her smile, that was real. I looked back at the mirror. The shadow version of me placed its hand flat against the glass from the inside. Slowly, deliberately, it pushed. The surface of the mirror rippled like water. My heart nearly stopped. "Your secret was never just something to hide," she whispered. "It was something waiting to be set free." The reflection pushed harder, and its fingers started pressing through the glass. I stumbled backward, shaking my head. This wasn't possible. This couldn't be happening. But then the most terrifying realization hit me. This wasn't about exposing my secret. This wasn't about embarrassing me. She hadn't been trying to reveal it. She had been trying to separate it from me. The version of me in the mirror smiled wider, stronger, more confident than I had ever been. And I understood. She didn't want to keep my secret. She wanted to give it a life of its own. And now it was stepping out. The mirror cracked. The lights went out. And in the darkness, I heard her whisper one final sentence. "Now you'll see what you really are." The lights didn't come back on. For a few seconds, there was nothing but darkness and breathing. Not just mine. 2 breaths. Mine fast, uneven. And another one. Slow. Controlled. Confident. A faint glow began to form in front of me. Not from the ceiling. Not from my phone. from the mirror. Cracks spread across the glass like veins, and then a hand pushed through. Not shadow anymore. Solid.
Real. My hand.
But steadier. Stronger. It stepped out slowly, like it had all the time in the world. Same face.
Same body.
Same everything. Except the eyes. The eyes weren't scared. They were certain. I stumbled backward, hitting the wall. This isn't real, I whispered. The other me tilted its head. Oh, it's real, it said calmly. You just didn't want it to be. My stomach dropped. Its voice wasn't distorted anymore. It was clear. Grounded. More confident than I had ever sounded in my life. Behind it, the mirror sealed itself shut like nothing had happened. No cracks. No damage. Like it had always been empty. She appeared beside him, beside it, not glitching anymore. Not flickering. Fully present.
And smiling.
You always thought your secret was something fragile, she said softly. Something embarrassing. Something to hide. She stepped closer to the other me and gently adjusted its collar like she was fixing something precious. But it was never weak. The other version of me looked at me like I was the copy. It was just waiting for you to stop suppressing it. My breathing became shallow. What did you do? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at him, and he stepped forward. I felt smaller with every step he took. You gave it to her, he said calmly. That was your mistake. My chest tightened.
No.
No, this wasn't exposure. This wasn't blackmail. This wasn't humiliation. This was replacement. The realization hit like ice water. She didn't want to reveal my secret to the world.
She wanted to pull it out of me.
Separate it. Strengthen it. Shape it. And now, it was standing in front of me.
Whole.
Confident. Unapologetic. You were never the stronger one, she whispered gently. The other me smiled. And then he said the most terrifying thing of all. You don't need to hide anymore. He reached toward me. Not violently. Not aggressively. Almost kindly. And when his fingers touched my chest, I felt something pulling. Like threads being slowly unraveled from inside me. Memories. Feelings. Pieces of identity. Being extracted. Transferred. I gasped, collapsing to my knees. He stood taller. Stronger. Brighter. And I felt lighter. Weaker. Empty. She crouched in front of me, brushing her fingers under my chin, so I had to look up at her. This is what you were always afraid of, she whispered. Not being exposed. She leaned closer. Being replaced. Behind her, the other me stood calmly, adjusting his sleeves like he had just arrived home. And in that moment I realized. He wasn't the shadow anymore. I was. I tried to stand, but my legs felt unstable, like they didn't fully belong to me anymore. Across the room, the other me moved with effortless confidence. He picked up my phone from the floor, glanced at it, and smirked slightly. That nervous habit, he said calmly, checking notifications every 5 seconds. You can let that go now. His voice wasn't mocking. It was evolved. She stood beside him, watching me carefully, like I was an experiment reaching its final stage. You spent your whole life hiding parts of yourself, she said gently, burying them, silencing them. The other me walked to the mirror and studied his reflection. Perfect posture. Steady breathing. No hesitation. You called it a secret, he added. But it was never a secret. He turned toward me. It was your truth. My chest tightened. You don't get to define me. He smiled slightly. But you never did either. That hit harder than anything else. Because somewhere deep down, I knew that was true. All this time, I had been fighting parts of myself. Editing myself. Filtering myself. Trying to be acceptable. Manageable. Safe. And she had seen it. She hadn't exposed me. She had isolated the part one was afraid of and amplified it. You think this is about control, she said softly. It's not. She stepped closer to me. It's about integration. I shook my head.
No.
You separated it. She smiled faintly. For now. The other me approached slowly and crouched in front of me. We were face to face. Same eyes. Same features. But one of us was no longer afraid. You feel empty, he said quietly. I swallowed. Because I did. Like something essential had been removed. That's because you've been living at half capacity, he continued. You suppressed ambition.
Desire.
Identity. Confidence. You locked it away and called it dangerous. He leaned closer. But I'm not dangerous. His voice lowered. I'm free. My breathing became uneven again. If you're free, what does that make me? He studied me for a long moment. Temporary. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. She stood up and walked behind him, placing a hand on his shoulder like she was proud. You always thought your biggest fear was being exposed, she said. She looked directly at me. But your real fear was becoming this. The other me stood tall again. And I realized something horrifying. He wasn't trying to destroy me. He was trying to merge. Slowly.
Piece by piece.
Every time he spoke confidently, I felt doubt weaken inside me. Every time he stood steady, I felt my own hesitation crumble. He walked toward the door.
Paused.
Then looked back at me. You can fight this, he said calmly. Or you can step into it. He opened the door. And outside. It wasn't a hallway. It was light.
Bright.
Overwhelming. Unknown. She extended her hand toward me. Your secret isn't weird, she whispered. It's powerful. The other me stood in the doorway, waiting. Not forcing. Not rushing. Just waiting. And for the first time since this began, I wasn't sure which version of me was the real one anymore. I pushed myself up from the floor. No, I said, my voice shaking but louder this time. You don't get to replace me. The light from the doorway flickered slightly, like it was reacting to my resistance. He didn't step back inside. He just watched.
Calm.
Patient.
Certain.
You still think this is about replacement, he said. It's not. Then what is it? I demanded. He tilted his head slightly. Evolution. That word made something snap inside me. I don't need to evolve into you. He gave a small, almost sympathetic smile. You already are. Suddenly the room shifted. Not physically but perceptually. The mirror behind him began to change. Instead of reflecting just him, it showed memories. Moments I tried to forget. Times I stayed silent when I wanted to speak. Times I laughed off insults instead of confronting them. Times I walked away from opportunities because I was scared of being seen too clearly. Every image was me shrinking. Every image was me choosing safety over growth. You call that survival, he said quietly. It was. It was hiding. I turned to her. You did this. She shook her head.
No.
I revealed it. The mirror shifted again. Now it showed different moments. The times I felt most alive. When I didn't care who was watching. When I spoke boldly. When I expressed parts of myself I later buried. And in every one of those reflections, he was there. Not separate. Present. Integrated. That's the version you locked away, she said softly. I didn't lock anything away. He stepped back into the room now. The light behind him didn't fade, it followed him, outlining his silhouette. You buried confidence because someone called it arrogance. He stepped closer. You buried sensitivity because someone called it weakness. Closer. You buried desire because someone told you it was wrong. I felt cornered. But if I become you, I whispered, what happens to the parts of me that feel safe? Stable. He stopped inches away. They don't disappear.
He placed his hand over my chest.
They finally breathe. Suddenly, I felt something strange. Not emptiness. Pressure. Like two versions of myself were occupying the same space. Memories began blending. His calmness mixing with my caution. His boldness weaving into my restraint. His certainty softening my fear. It wasn't violent. It was overwhelming. I can't control this, I said. He nodded. That's the point. The room started dissolving around us, walls fading into light. There was no more mirror. No more floor. Just us. And her voice, steady and guiding. You've been at war with yourself for years. She stepped closer, standing between us now. It's time to choose. Choose what? I asked. He answered. Wholeness. The pressure intensified. I could feel him inside my thoughts now. Not invading. Aligning. Say it, he whispered. Say what? That you're done hiding. My throat tightened. Silence stretched.
Then,
I'm done hiding. The moment the words left my mouth, something snapped into place. The light didn't consume me. It didn't erase me. It folded inward. And suddenly, there was only one set of thoughts. One steady breath. One heartbeat. I opened my eyes. The room was back. Normal. Quiet. She stood in front of me, studying me carefully. Well, she asked. I stood taller.
not forced.
Not exaggerated. Just steady. I'm still me, I said. But my voice carried a depth it hadn't before. A calm I didn't have before. Across the room, the mirror reflected only one figure. No split. No shadow.
Just me. Complete.
She smiled slightly. Good. But then, her expression changed. Because in the reflection behind me, there was a faint outline forming again. Not a second body. Not a duplicate. Something subtler. Something watching. And this time, it wasn't him. It wasn't me. It was something new. And it was smiling.